Good morning. Good morning. Can I invite everyone to the room? Thank you. I know it's Friday morning and there are like great people to talk to, but I really need everyone in the room. Good morning. I think I sort of feel like like the flight attendant, like last call. Mr. Joga is requested to proceed to gate number 1. I was a really bit worried about the attendance this morning after a very long dinner last night. Eva told me it's Friday. Don't complicate it. It's Friday. So I think we'll move on with inviting the great panelists, and maybe this will motivate everyone to come and listen to great people. I'll start with our great guest from California, Eva Duer, leading the Gen AI development at Google Cloud. Eva, can I take you on stage, please? Invite you on stage. Michał Joga, who came here especially today. Michał leading Intel Investments. I need you on stage. I know you have a great conversation, absolutely. Nader Sabadjan, who came especially from London, investing in a number of AI projects. Welcome to the stage. Piotr Surma, very successful founder. I saw him behind Applica AI, now working on another very interesting venture. Welcome, Piotr. We have Paul Bragil, who flew especially from US for that panel. We have Alexander Kwak from one of the VCs that are currently created in the region. And last but most important, moderator of this panel, great friend, Adam Sawicki.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I don't need, we keep it. We keep it for our, can you pass it on for the people who talk? All right, all right, all right. As Matthew McConaughey says, my favorite actor in Texas. And Texas is Austin, and Austin is technology. That's why I make the parallel. We didn't outnumber the audience, which is a good sign for a starter.
But it's close.
It's close. It's a close race, yes. We have, I think we have 45 minutes, which makes 7.5 minutes per person. So please keep it short. I'll try to do it a bit different this time around. So we will not have a common questions. I did some research on you guys, so I was trying to tailor. It's not an AI based. I did it myself, but I tried to tailor-made my questions to you, and then maybe you can find a common denominator as the discussion goes. Just to frame the discussion a bit, we were talking yesterday about the fact that, you know, how we got here, and most probably how we got here won't get us there where we're gonna go. And in terms of what's happening on the technology, on Quest, on talent, and also AI, which is, I guess, mentioned a couple of times in different aspects, just to put some things into the context. Europe is lagging the race of the AI investments in terms of numbers. So just a bit of the statistics. EU countries invested slightly more than 10 billion so far, and this is based on 2022 numbers. China 12, US 43. Poland is ranked 36th in Government AI Readiness Index prepared by Oxford Insights. And just to compare, Germany is 8th, Czech Republic is 31st, Estonia 16th, and obviously the US is number 1. The same goes for the, for other numbers of that kind. And I was wondering, putting that into the context, starting a bit with Eva, you, our guest from California. Sorry for picking you up, but you are the only one that stands for the diversity, true diversity in our panel. So, but starting with that, global companies are increasingly introducing new applications of AI, and well, for example, the voice becoming indistinguishable from generated by people. However, do you believe that we are at the point where artificial intelligence is merely perfecting its ability to mimic our, our human characteristics, or could it be soon approach human creative and emotional capabilities as well? A bit broader question, to kick off.
Yeah, and thank you very much. Not only coming from California, but as well, I love the question because it talks a little bit about the past, my past. I come from a musician.
Yeah, you're a cello
family,
player. You're a
and,
cello player, correct?
My mother was a musician, and my father was a teacher of physics. So it's art and science for all my life. And I think artificial intelligence is indeed something around art and science at the same time. But to answer your question, whether that would mimic the human abilities, I think the answer is AI does it differently. And why it does it differently? By definition, because AI is based on tons of data, billions of tokens, and even if I had to read the whole internet, I wouldn't be able to do it, right? So our emotions are based on the chemical processes versus AI is based on computational power. So the question I always get in that sense, whether AI will mimic the human abilities, they would do that differently. It's like asking a question whether the plane can fly like a bird or a submarine can swim like a fish, right? It's just different. So I think the better question would be, how do we complement each other? It's not a replacement, it's actually a collaboration. And the opportunities that we have, and me coming from California and working and building products in AI and working with companies across the globe, the opportunities are tremendous. Even in the space of enterprises, developer productivity, we read about it in the news, they can generate the code, they can debug, they can correct the code. They can analyze tons of documents, thousands of pages in seconds. They can, and we all have experience in chatbots and customer service. So the opportunities are tremendous, and we should use that ability in a similar way as we are using cars to move, planes to fly, and move around the world. It's just a complementary technology. So the opportunities are huge, but as are risks. And that's what I want to pre-warn people as well. And to do that, I always like asking one question to the audience. If you put something in the navigation system and the address, how many of you check whether the route that is being selected by the technology is the optimal one? Raise of hands. Oh, that's
unusual.
Unusual. It's a bit more than 1/4.
You have critical thinkers in the room.
Yeah.
Yes.
They are all thinkers, but the average population, less than 1. So we really trust the technology.
Okay.
So I think the question is for me rather, how do we ensure that AI is complementary to us?
Okay.
And I think this group has a huge role to play to ensure that we have the guardrails, that we don't over-trust the technology, and that the AI serves us as the navigation system serves us, rather than we serving the technology.
Okay, thank you, Eva. Nader, do you share that view? Also, given the VC investments in artificial intelligence over the last 5 years, it's approximately $300 billion. Do you share the enthusiasm or the risks? And when you do your own investments, how do you try to navigate and balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with Eva, correct? Yeah, I completely agree with her. I think some of the implications of AI, particularly in the creative industry, are a little bit overhyped. I think this is a tool, and I don't think we're going to sort of start replacing artists and musicians and so forth. Just like, cartoonists went from designing by hand to using software to this is just an additional layer of software that allows people who are in that industry to be more creative, more productive. I don't think it's a replacement technology as such for the creative industries. As for the topic of investment and the impact of AI, I think there are huge opportunities. I think what we're seeing right now is kind of similar to the revolution we saw with the internet, because you're getting into an entirely new set of capabilities. I mean, our business is about productivity, and the technology that has been introduced and the boom that we're seeing, the valuations of these companies all have to do with the fact that our society has become increasingly reliant on technology, on software in particular. It's pervasive. Anything we do, from booking airlines to organizing this event, we touch software constantly. I mean, if software disappears, our economic system collapses. I think here we are getting in an era whereby there's this fascinating concept that rather than pre-programming machines, we can teach them stuff. And there are many things that we could not do because we couldn't actually get those things down to an algorithm. Now with this, think about AI as being just a new technique whereby we can actually educate the machine to emulate us and do things that previously could not be programmed, like self-driving or even playing chess and so forth. There's just a combination of things that need to be there for you to actually program in the machine are too many. So this sort of intelligent approach of, they call it cognitive computing, is a fascinating thing. Is going to give another substantial layer of productivity, and that creates opportunities for startups, opportunities for companies to do things in a different way, business models to be radically changed. I also think I've seen in this conference over the past couple of days, there's this constant comparison between Europe and the United States.
It is.
And China and so forth. It's a fact. I don't think people sort of point to things like regulation, European Union, and all that kind of stuff. I think people fail to understand that a lot of foundational technology requires scale. And Europe isn't just one homogeneous country. Before being a venture capitalist, I was an entrepreneur. Scaling your company across Europe, across 40 different countries, is not the same as scaling your company across, China or the United States. They are one very large market, and they also have huge financial resources. So these foundational technologies have an inherent advantage in these very large economies. I think that's more a structural issue. Despite all of the good things that the EU does and so forth, I think Europe, at the end of the day, no matter how much it wants to coordinate and collaborate, is at somehow a disadvantage when it comes to these large-scale technological developments.
Yeah. I mean, we were trying to find, I guess, the connection between also the investment as well in technology, but also with the democratic development of the countries. And this is one of the statistics I think that was shown the other day, was that how much more money goes into the geographies where authoritarian regimes are still being filled. So it's another kind of way of looking at it, and I guess that's where that's compared to the democracies. That's why I guess the comparison between different parts and geographical comparisons were coming from. So that was also fueling the not only development of society and the well-being of society, but also the democratic state, the state of the democracy, and that's where I guess where the connection. Paul, I mean, you've been investing across the globe and here in the region with my favorite name of your group, which is Smog, like a dragon here. Yep. So Smog Ventures. what's your take on that, when you take your investments here, both long-term, short-term, and also in the context of AI?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm an eternal optimist, right? I mean, like, build a few companies, and in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be optimistic, right? I think to be a good VC, you have to be optimistic, right? Like, so like, you don't look for downside protection. You're like, where can this go, right? And so for us, when we're looking at companies, both the United States, here in Europe, or be it Africa, where we invest globally, we're looking at it, yeah, where it's today, but where are these lines going to cross, right? So like, this company's here, the technology's coming here, where do they intersect? And if they could intersect potentially 3, 5, 10 years down the line and create something amazing, we want to be involved. And we're willing to take those really huge risks. And yeah, most of the time we fail, but when it hits magically well, right? And yeah, so you have to be kind of brave enough to say, let's do this. I don't care. We're going to probably lose our money, but we keep on going. In terms of AI, I mean, I'm an optimist there too, right? Yes, there are dangers and all that type of stuff, but I think at the end of the day, if you invest in great people and you know, kind of go out there and trust the process, that things will end up okay. People have been scared throughout history with every single technical revolution, like, oh my God, this is going to displace people. Oh my God, this is going to, you know, kill all jobs. And then yet somehow we create the technology and more jobs are created, right? And things become essentially more equal. So yes, we should not absolutely blindly trust technology. I can be very skeptical about things, but I think we have to go out there and find a way to incorporate it into our lives. And we, you know, both my folks here both mentioned it's a tool. Yeah, so it's like, it's gonna be one more thing in our arsenal. I think actually AI is gonna go out there and actually create more opportunities for people. So yes, there's some artists might lose jobs, but actually I think thousands more people will be able to go out there and create creative stuff. For instance, we do a lot of stuff around video games and entertainment, right? So now an average regular person who could not draw or could not make music can now go out there and get what's in his or her head onto a computer and actually build something beautiful, right? So I think we see like a boom, like a Cambrian explosion of creativity and new ideas and new products. And so I'm optimistic. So, and I think also it'll allow for a lot more countries that maybe didn't have a seat at the table to potentially be sitting at the table. And you'll see some cool entrepreneurs from Uganda or Paraguay step up and make a new global product. And that's already happened in the past. I think it will continue to happen going forward.
Right, thank you. So Alexander, I mean, you've been seeing, I guess, so many pitches of different companies, you know, especially now when you're kind of doing another fund. I mean, and predominantly knowing what you will looking, what's not only Poland, but very often was the region and globally. So why is that? And where do you see these new ideas and pitches coming from? And which sector most impressed you? So both geography, but also the sector over the last, you know, let's say year.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, that's right. We invest Polish money abroad currently. Like 90% of our projects in our pipeline come from United States, UK, and German-speaking countries. And there is one reason, quite important one, why we do it like this. And this is the argument that was said before. We focus on large markets where are the greatest chances to achieve huge scalability. And we present quite other approach to our strategy because we care very much about some downside protection. So we'd rather avoid some risks related to exits because on those big markets it's much easier to sell company rather than here. But coming back to local markets and some impressive AI solutions, because I believe that was the question, we've seen a number of great AI-related companies, but we also believe that AI is a kind of next flavor of the month. It's a overhyped, definitely, trend in many cases in terms of value creation. However, I think there are some great products, especially in the software development sphere, because you can do much more for much less, and it's all about the efficiency and some insights that are very, right now, cost-effective to obtain. So this is what makes huge impression on me. And you can see it in software development, you can see it in healthcare, definitely, because you can, you know, squeeze the data very efficiently. AI is also about the data, by the way. So if I would have to name some few areas with huge AI impact, that would be definitely software-related business, e-commerce, maybe healthcare. But those are not the vectors where we invest currently, but I've seen there a lot of really interesting cases. And coming back to Gen AI and what you said about the creativity and so on, for me, most impressive is currently content generation for entertainment. It's simply amazing what you can achieve using newest models that generate videos like Llama or Sora. It's simply amazing and at the same time really, really concerning. Yeah, so that's my point of view.
Right, thanks. So Piotr, I mean, you are developing, AI technologies. I was wondering, when you select ones and you try to, define your projects, do you try to solve the very well-defined problem from the very beginning, like the niche one, or you look for the global impact from the very beginning? So do you go the kind of MVP and see whether, okay, it works here on the mid-market? We were talking about the mid-market trap that Poland potentially has. Or do you rather go and say, no, we want to go after technologies that from the very beginning are designed to make a global impact and be a global product? Or is it both?
Maybe, so, well, actually, what we were doing like against all the rules. So, well, the MVP style of doing business, starting from a very well-defined problem and, well, delivering maybe on a small problem in the beginning and then building on this smaller thing and then expanding to adjacent spaces. This is the way that probably is like by the book way of building companies. What I was doing in the past was, well, I was stupid enough to start from targeting a very large market. And at the same time, I was maybe out of stupidity, I was brave enough to do that. So the answer is that yes, we were starting from a very, very broad space and building a core technology that could solve a lot of problems. And well, to some extent, we were successful in my previous company, thanks to this approach. But this is probably something I wouldn't recommend because maybe we're just lucky rather than anything else. And in the current company that is in kind of biotech or healthcare, and we are trying to simulate clinical trials based on AI methods. This is pretty much similar because we are again building something that is a complete moonshot, and we are targeting a huge market. Is it a good idea? Well, only time will prove. But I believe that well, actually doesn't make sense for some companies. Doesn't make sense to focus on narrow space, on narrow problems. It makes more sense to go broad. Of course, you need to deliver on your promise step by step, rather than, let's say, build the moonshot for many years, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to secure your capital for your venture. But definitely, in what we're building and what we are building right now, we were thinking about the global market pretty early. And well, this is only part of the answer, because when I was with my previous company, in the very beginning, we thought that we would be successful in terms of building a product for our region. And then pretty quickly we realized that there is nothing like local technology or local market for technology. And in order to be successful, you need to go global or stay small. But this is probably obvious.
Right, thanks. Michał, the semiconductor industry seems to be today what oil was for us. I mean, for the world a few decades ago. I mean, without that, and you know, we have the aspect of the nearshoring, friendshoring, all of that in today's world. How do you view the AI opportunity, and what's your industry bringing in? But also in the context of the huge investment that you guys are making in Poland. I guess when everybody talks about the Poland being so close to the war zone, everybody is mentioning you as an example of continuous investment in the country. So what's your take here?
Okay, so I think everyone has our own perspective. So mine is that we talk about AI, but there would be no AI without computing power, right? And not all of the people in the room are in that business, so I like to use this analogy on the pace of innovation with computing power, right? So it's actually quite interesting because I don't know any other industry that has set a pace of innovation like 60 years ago, and it's still going on, right? So Gordon Moore, he said that every 2 years we will double the computing power of the processor, more or less. Just to have a comparison, I hope there are not so many people in the room from automotive business, so I don't want to insult anyone. But if you have a car engine, right, and in 1967 you would have a Moore's law for car engines efficiency, on 1 liter of gasoline, you could go around the Earth 25 billion times. Okay, so that's just to see where are we with computing power, and then AI is a natural consequence of it, right?
Sure.
So it's great to hear about all this, applications, and this is exactly what we're witnessing. We've been talking a lot about the investment in Poland. It was a result of a 2-year, very diligent site selection process in the whole Europe, with over 80 spots we reviewed in pretty much all European countries, maybe except Liechtenstein and Monaco, because they don't have a plot this size. But I want, being here in Gdańsk, I want to, and talking about AI, I want to mention something else. So, because Wrocław is a location for a new investment, and it's going its own pace, which is happening as planned. But here in Gdańsk, we have actually 4,000 software engineers who are every day working on solutions, also on solutions on AI. So if Intel is going to challenge NVIDIA anytime soon, the challenge, Gdańsk will be the place where we will place the challenge. So the Gaudi AI computing power processors are being designed and co-designed in Gdańsk, right? So there are engineers here who who might challenge global leaders in that space, and this is what makes me actually proud, right? Because we've been building this R&D for the last 25 years. We invested over like 100 people. Now it's many more, and basically covering variety of topics. So I think that the company and Poland is a source of innovation, and being in the Global Investor Summit in Gdańsk, I think it's worth to mention, and I think that it's a great thing to know that that companies are trusting Poland. Google is trusting Poland. Other big companies. Dell has a factory in Poland which produces 30% of server output. Some of you might have heard about the recent supercomputer in Cambridge, right? It's based on processors that were designed in Gdańsk and on computers that were produced in Łódź, right? Fully, 1 week, and the most powerful computer is done. So I'm pretty confident about Poland's future within this space.
Thank you. Great to hear that. Eva, again, back to you. Discussing democratization of the access to AI. I mean, you're coming from Google. Two aspects of that question. Do you believe the democratization, it will apply equally to users and the developers? That's one thing. And the second thing, the greatest achievements today in terms of applications, they remain domain of the big tech giants. And you guys on the forefront, as we discussed last night. Do you believe it's going to stay that way, or the smaller teams will also have a chance to make a significant contributions?
Yeah, maybe I will ask, I will start with the second part of the question. I actually not sure I agree that the AI is in the hands of big tech, because we've seen the startup ecosystem is exploding in that area. OpenAI started as a startup, DeepMind started as a startup, and they became big companies, right? That make huge influence on how we live, how we act, how we operate, right? So I think there is a demonstration already that the small can actually disrupt the whole market. Obviously, Google will play a huge role. There's infrastructure, there's model training, there are computational capacities needed for that, right? So the question is in which area of the value chain those users and those developers and those startups and open source, I would count there as well, by the way, will play in that ecosystem. So the opportunities are huge, and to tie that to what you just said about Poland, what does it mean for Poland? Is Poland small or big in that space? Is it small against China or the US, or is it big enough in Europe? Because I actually believe that the intellectual capacity of Poland is really, really amazing. I haven't lived in Poland for 15 years, but whenever I come here, it's really striking how smart people are. And if you multiply it, and I put my mathematics hat in, if you multiply it by number of people that live here and their intellectual capacity, on average, it's really, really amazing. So taking that intellectual capacity that we have here in Poland and leading some of the innovation just because we are nimble enough, small enough, but big enough at the same time, I think I encourage people. And yesterday with many of you, I was discussing as well with the investor community here, are we rather copying other business models, or are we leading in innovating with new business? And I want to encourage, we have the capacity in this country to lead, not to copy. So, yeah, in Polish one would say, nie kopiujcie, a liderujcie. And I think that's the opportunity that this country has with intellectual capacity.
Perfect, thanks, very encouraging. Nader, you are based in the UK, but you've been talking about the fragmentation of the European market. And in terms of the AI and the discussion around the regulation, how do you view that? Can Europe, with the smart regulations, accelerate its growth and the path, or would it rather slow down? What's your...
I think it's completely influential. I think, startups that we invest in, by the way, I was a founder of a company myself, like before becoming a venture capitalist, and I know the psychology. Small startups, their priority is survival. We give money to these guys. They got 1.5 years, 2 years to reach the next milestone, raise the next money to go to the next level. They don't really care about it. Actually, regulation, to be totally honest, helps startups. Because the only people worrying about regulation are the big companies. No one's going to come after a little startup. So I think it's non-influential, if not positive, for the disruptors, because disruptors really don't care. And then as to its relevance, one of the other speakers, I think it was Tara from Google, who mentioned that he wasn't necessarily sure that it was the right time, because I think there's a lot we don't know about how this technology is going to be deployed. And I think getting into formulating a coherent regulation around AI might be a little bit too early without knowing how AI is actually going to be used in wider society. It's like coming up with data privacy laws in 99 or 2000 without knowing, you know, are there going to be social media, how advertising is going to be working and all that. I think it's a little bit too early. I don't want to be completely negative, but I think the focus really now has to be on other priorities, such as, you know, even innovation in the area of AI, because AI itself has a lot to go. We've demonstrated capabilities, but how we're doing these things are extremely inefficient. We use too much data. I mean, a lot of new and cool things are coming out and coming, you know, with techniques and methods of emulating biology to do cognitive computing. Right now, if you want to teach a computer to recognize cats and dogs, you need, I don't know, in the order of 100,000 or 200,000 images of cats and dogs, which is, you know, when you ask yourself, we don't really need to see 100,000 cats and dogs to figure out what is a cat and what is a dog, correct? So it's over-reliant on data, and how to, you know, there are now combination of hardware and software techniques that are looking at changing how we're actually building the foundations of AI going forward. I think on those dimensions, there's a lot needs to be done to then figure out where AI is going to be going.
And Paul, following that discussion, what's your take from your perspective when you're investing? Is the same perspective or different?
I mean, I'll follow up on kind of both their comments. So I'm going to be a little bit opposite. I think that AI is a little bit too controlled by some of the big companies right now. It's a big money game, right? So who are the big winners? It's going to be hardware guys, NVIDIA, Intel potentially, right? And then, yeah, we see, I mean, you said DeepMind, but that was fueled by a lot of Google money, right? OpenAI is fueled by a lot of Microsoft money. So I do worry about that a bit. And I hope that we see some really cool players come out of Europe. I would love to see some amazing stuff come out of Poland. But for that takes a lot of capital and a lot of risk taking. And I don't know if we necessarily have the appetite here in Europe to do that, right? Yeah, so I mean, I'm optimistic about things in general, but I'm hoping that we can go out there and have more players at the table, so we have more different kind of slices of doing the things, and yeah, so we can see how AI could bloom in unique ways. And but yeah, to go on his comments, I still feel a lot of the stuff is also early. I feel that, yeah, we don't want to over-regulate things. We don't want to like trap innovation before it has the potential to kind of really impact things widely. So yeah, go with caution, but I think we should just push as hard as possible and, you know, bring as many different entrants to the table, have as many different flavors, because that's when the true innovation will come, instead of kind of limiting it to a few people that are kind of really controlling it. But once again, that takes capital, it takes risk-taking, it takes different people and different companies and different maybe entities to come to the table and put the money in, right? It can't just be a few people are going to be plowing all the stuff in. It's to be more collective, I used to say almost like societal effort across different countries, different regions, different entities to go out there and try to, you know, go out there and bring something new to the table. So yeah.
All right. Alexander, your take here?
Yeah, so I believe and I agree with most of you guys, and definitely Poland CE has a lot of you know, great assets, like great talent pool. It's also a great place to kickstart some businesses here and reach the scale that is necessary to generate profit in some areas. But it's always the question from investor perspective, how you will generate profit for your investors or for yourself if you invest in one startup here. This question is usually difficult to answer if you look at the capacity of local markets to reach the necessary scale from the fund point of view. That's why we focus currently mainly on Western markets because of local capacity. But still, I believe it is really a place with high potential, and AI definitely is one of the trends that can be highly leveraged here. There are great companies here in Poland that created great products that are recognized globally. Some of them you already know. And yeah, that is my take on that.
Because I also know that when you invest abroad, you also try, after the investment, really to make sure that at least part of the activity of those companies kind of benefiting from your Polish
Yeah.
contacts network and trying to bring them here. So this is an important part
Yeah,
as
definitely.
well, yeah?
Definitely. This is the value that we bring to the table when we talk with international investors. We invest globally, we invest in the United States, but one of the parts of the smart money that we bring to the table is the value that results from coming from CEE. And the biggest asset we bring together with our money is the connection with the great talent pool here and really cost-effective environment, which is in Poland. So we believe that we do good for, for Poland when we invest abroad, because in some cases we support Western companies to open R&D facilities or simply move production from, I don't know, Switzerland to Poland. And that is also very important for the general ecosystem. And I don't need to necessarily invest in Polish company to generate value for Polish ecosystem this way. So yeah, I totally agree.
It's an important one. Piotr, you know, the application of AI in medicine raises, you know, questions about, you know, ethical, but also accountability. Accountability for the decisions that are based, will be potentially based on AI solutions. How do you view that challenge? Can you elaborate on that one a bit?
Yeah, well, this is a huge problem because, well, when you have an employee that makes mistakes, then you can, well, buy insurance, you can do, well, whatever, you can fire the employee. And if you have a piece of AI that makes mistakes, that, well, probably nobody would like to insure against AI errors, and this is still like too problematic to buy such an insurance. And in terms of like liability, like even legally speaking, this is a huge problem. So what everybody does, and what I was doing in my previous company, and what I will likely do in the current company, is rather having some kind of human-machine tandem, so kind of human in the loops system. And this is how this problem is being solved by many companies. So you rather create some kind of like co-pilot product than a crystal ball telling you what to do. And this is the question, this answers probably a little bit the question about accountability. About ethics, I believe that this is pretty much similar. So you need to think about the AI products as kind of co-pilot or companion for human decision makers. And in such a setup, the ethical question is much less burning, because the burden of the decision stays with the human decision maker. So this is like a very, very practical answer, and this is how companies, including what I was doing in my company, are dealing with such problems.
Yeah, thanks, Piotr. So we don't have much time left, but I was thinking, Michał, I mean, you were talking about, you were very, I guess, believing in the Polish ecosystem, Polish talent, and you know most of the leaders here. What does it take, or what would it take for us to build a global AI platform? Where is the challenge?
So I think people here know it probably better than I do. I think that I mean, something can start here, right? But if it wants to go global, it will not end here, right? And it's not only Poland; it will not even end in Europe, right? I mean, if you want to raise big money, you need to be Delaware incorporated, and that's it, right? And we won't solve it here. We won't solve it, you know, probably never or anytime soon.
Right.
But I think that, you know, what is really needed for us to make a move, and then, you know, there are these questions, so whether ICEYE are Polish satellites or not Polish satellites. Hey, yes, of course, you know, so Steve Wozniak was Polish, and then Rafał is also Polish. He did not even start the startup in Poland, right? And that might be the case. But what we can do, we can definitely produce the right talent, right? And I think that in the particular case of AI, we have quite good perspective. I'm very forward-looking because maybe it's not a common knowledge, but if you look what Polish Ministry of Education is planning, they're going to train 11,000 teachers in AI in the coming 2 years. So basically, every secondary school will have a capacity to train students in AI. And then, what can you do with a pool like this, right? Young people, creative, who understand the technology. So I have faith in that. Of course, it can go sideways, but we really try to make it work. And I see how other countries are moving in that direction, then they are much slower than us, actually. So this gives me hope.
Right, thank you. I will steal 1 or 2 more minutes to make sure that if there are any questions from the audience to the panelists, now is the time to ask. Otherwise, they will be available in the break. No questions. So, guys, thank you very much. All the panelists, thank you. Great seeing you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The panel was so interesting that it was really difficult to stop it. But welcome everyone in the room. There are some free seats over there for those who are standing, so take your seats. And right now we will be moving to the second panel, and I want to start from connecting it with yesterday. What actually was here on the stage yesterday was the Best of Poland, leaders who actually created opportunities for us being here today. What connects yesterday with today is what they called in the panel yesterday, something in the Polish water. What is that something in the Polish water that makes Polish people special? What we hear from international investors, it's 2 things. First, it's grit, resilience, like we never give up and we are trying until we achieve. The second thing is the ambition. Polish people know where they come from, but they don't want to stop. They don't want to define the end. And that's exactly what we're going to see on the stage in a minute, the best of young Poland. So welcome to the stage. Stefan Batory. Do we have Stefan in the room? Stefan Batory, welcome, like the Polish king. Welcome, Stefan. We have Marek Gabryś from IUT. We have Piotr Garstecki, Scope Fluidics. We have Bartosz Lipnicki, Endeavor Poland. We have Natalia Panowicz from Codility and Maya Schaefer from Zoe. So these are the founders, people who have the grit, the ambition, and they will never stop. Matthew Strasberg will moderate the panel. Welcome to the stage.
Good morning. With such amazing introduction from Magda, it's very difficult to follow on that. I sort of took the assignment very seriously. We're supposed to promote Poland, so let's give the next 45 minutes some chance to that effort. The way I would propose to conduct this discussion is by actually contextualizing the background of each participant, by giving them a minute to describe their business and the trajectory of how they've gone about building it. I think the key thing that we would like to really use the opportunity to highlight is the relevance of Poland in what they've really done, which is in each case build a global business. We heard on the previous panel this reference to we primarily invest in foreign companies because we want scale. Well, you don't need to go abroad to get scale. You just need to find the right people to back, and you will get global scale with Polish businesses or Polish sort of initiated businesses. So with that, maybe I just, in the order that the panelists are sitting, I'll ask Stefan to start. If you could just describe what you do, how you do it, and and what is the trajectory of how you became a global player.
Of course. Very nice to be here. So I'm a co-founder and CEO of Booksy. We are a scheduling app for hair and beauty. We help to streamline the scheduling process for hair and beauty appointments. We first started in the US, and only a few months later, we translated the app and launched it in Poland. And that was a pretty bold move back then. But my previous app, iTaxi, was a single market play, and when Uber and Bolt and MyTaxi entered the Polish market, all the local VCs, they just passed on us, and they said that we stood no chance against those global behemoths. And all the global VCs, they said they were not interested in a single market play. So when we were launching Booksy, we thought, okay, let's learn from that. Like, we don't want to be in that pigeonhole again, and let's start in the US first, and when we succeed that, when we find product market fit, then we'll start rolling it out across Europe and other markets. And now from the hindsight, I see that was the best decision we could have ever made, because many Polish startups say that there is that 40 million country curse, and once you start in Poland and you grow in Poland, then it's so much harder to globalize your business, because you get better at what you do most. And then when you focus on your Polish clients, then launching in Germany or in any other market, it's always it's always tough to cross that, to go outside. So that's something I always recommend to any founders: just go global from day one.
Hello, very nice being here. Marek Gabryś, I'm the second generation automation company founded in '91 in Poland. Currently, we are the biggest Polish robotics automation factory guys company working globally. And our adventure with ventures started 20 years ago when we started doing products. Based on our engineering skill, currently we have over 700 engineers with lots of competencies, so we can easily undertake this challenge from a technical perspective at least. And 20 years ago we started doing products. Let's say about 10 years ago we matured some strategies towards the products. 4 years ago we decided to separate products from our core activity and make it in separate ventures. 3 years ago we did first exit from one of the ventures, and right now I would say we are maturing the way we do ventures. And of course, being a global company, we focus on global market and try to address solutions benefiting from the fact that our core business, Ayut, the automation company, gives us the outreach and entry into lots of big players across the globe. So that's the entry point, and the process can be copied as we have already experienced.
Piotr Garstecki. I'm a physicist, or a blend of a physicist and a chemist. And I also lead Scope Fluidics, a company we founded in 2010, where we try to identify global challenges in healthcare and boldly come up with a technology to maybe not solve, but contribute to a solution. So global market is by definition even required for us, because the development of a technology from the concept to a ready product takes many years, so the return on investment has to be high in order to convince any investor to actually support us. I must also say that I'm super grateful for being here. This is a very special place. You know, I grew up in small rural areas. Then I was 14 in '89. So I went to one of the first Liceum Społeczne, non-public schools, a lot of enthusiasm there. I went to College of Sciences, which was just formed by Polish Academy of Sciences first year. Then I brought one of the first ERC grants to Poland. We entered the stock market also with a technological company. So every time it was, for me, I kind of lived, it was super important for me, the freedom in Poland, and that, new things can actually happen here. So now being 49, it's also very great to be in the panel of young generation. So I'm looking forward to the discussion.
Hi, I'm Bartosz Lipnicki, and I manage Endeavor Poland. This is actually my hometown. I grew up in Gdańsk, then I lived and worked across 6 countries around the world. And now I manage something many people call a unicorn club, which actually, in reality, we're a global community of growth entrepreneurs, scale-up founders, the one who dream and act global, big, scale fast, and pay it forward. And we support those who face, a lot of barriers scaling up globally. We listen to them and we tell them we will not tell you what to do, but we'll find someone who's been there, who's done that, or help you learn who they were before they did it, so that your learning is faster. Covering 40 markets all around the world and up and running for 25 years, we probably can spot someone who's been there, who's done that. And 2 years ago, we started in Poland, backed by some great people, entrepreneurs, business leaders, including Eva from MPIC, Sebastian Kulczyk, Marcin Żukowski of Snowflake. And I'm happy that we have by now 6 great entrepreneurs, including Stefan Batory from Booksy, Mati Piotrek from 11 Labs, and Julka Martin from Silent 8. And I'm super grateful for being here. I really believe there's a tipping point in Poland in terms of global entrepreneurship.
Natalia Panowicz, CEO and co-founder at Codility. And before I start, thank you so much, Magda, for inviting me to this panel. It's absolutely an honor to be here in Gdańsk, especially having heard the keynote of Lech Wałęsa on the first day. So that was a very special and moving thing to me. What I really loved about what you, Magda, mentioned in the beginning and the introduction of the panel is that Poland actually excels at grit and resilience, and I think it really takes a lot of grit and resilience to build a global business. Starting scale from Europe. So a little bit about Codility. We're a leader in technical assessments, which means that companies that build engineers use our software to assess technical skills. A few thousand customers by now, global scale, half of our revenues in the US, half of our revenue is the rest of the world. We work with world's biggest companies in technology, in finance, in automotive sectors, retail, and more. So maybe a little bit more on the trajectory. So we actually bootstrapped the company for the majority of the time, took venture funding a few years ago, and continue at the scale-up phase.
Hi, my name is Maya Schaefer. I'm co-founder and CEO at Zawi. We do AI customer service. We are backed by Google AI Venture Fund, Gradient Ventures, and Altman Brothers. One of them is CEO of OpenAI. We raised about 20 million to date. And first of all, thanks for having me. And I'm happy that you started the panel with some comment on the previous panel, and I'm glad that we are the second panel and we can fix this negativity a little bit, because I'm glad that we don't have many young founders here. It's kind of sad what people think about building companies out of Poland, Polish founders and technology, and I totally agree with what Eva from Google said, that we have a lot of intellectual capacity here, but we don't have enough courage. And those kind of conversations definitely don't help. So I hope that will encourage some people to global thinking. Because we actually started from Poland, selling to big Polish companies. We have many customers here, some of the friendly faces here as well. And then we started scaling globally, mainly in the US. And yes, you can go after big global markets. There is nothing wrong with that, and you can do it out of Poland. We have majority of people actually in Poland. We hire here, we pay taxes, and we sell to the US, and we sell to the biggest European markets. And when I talk to young founders, their thinking is, hey, we cannot actually compete in the US, we'll compete in Mexico or in Brazil. Why? Oh, because like the competition is so huge in the US. Like, but you have a great product. You have the best product in the world. Like, what's wrong with that? So yeah, I'm sure that we continue talking about it today. Glad to be here.
Well, thank you very much, for all of you, for explaining what you do and how you do it. I think there are a couple of themes that kind of immediately emerge just from the introductions. And actually, if I can start with Bartosz, because I think, you know, since you're running an ecosystem, you may be able to share the perspective. You know, what do you see as the key challenges, and what do you see as the key benefits of association with Poland for entrepreneurs? You know, just some things that I'd like to throw out. You know, is there a bit of a stigma? Oh, if it's from C, it cannot be that innovative, which is effectively what you're alluding to. Is there an issue that there is very limited appetite in terms of domestic capital, which normally serves as a kind of first step in validating a concept? You know, people who know you best are, in theory, the ones who should endorse you with their money. But because the domestic capital in Poland tends to be shy and think that they have to go straight to Silicon Valley, some of you have effectively gone to the States to raise money because you can't actually get traction here. And so, you know, if you can just discuss a little bit you know, what do you do with your network as a way to facilitate, accelerate on these trends?
Right, thanks. Yeah, and I'm with Maya on the positive side, that like the values in Endeavor and the way we inspire the founders to really dream big, scale fast and pay it forward. It's about the mindset. It's about the courage that you actually can do it. And being in Gdańsk, it reminds me of a real story of a few entrepreneurs. Some of you may know Michał Kaszczuk, Łukasz Osowski, year around 2000, started a company called Iwona Software and did text-to-speech. Yeah, Wirtualna Polska was actually probably one of the first customer at a company which also started here in Gdańsk. And Iwona would read text and convert into speech. Probably the best product in the world those days, and nobody noticed. It took years until actually Amazon Spot, the company, acquired it and set up a global R&D center in Gdańsk, and then followed by Intel and Boeing and Lufthansa and so on. Yeah? And Google doubled down on Poland. So this is a story of founders breaking the initial barriers of starting a business, scaling a business, but they were on their own. There were no patterns, no stories those days how to build a global company, how to scale a global company, how to get an investor, right? And yet now, 20 years later, we experience 11 Labs. It's again text-to-speech. We have very similar technology in very different times, but Mati and Piotr are young, brave. Yeah, they don't see those barriers. They start a business, within 2 years, scale it globally, get global investors, become a unicorn, tech unicorn because of the valuation. And why is that important? Because they broke barriers that were barriers how to scale a global business. Is it even possible? Is it possible to get a global investor scaling out of Poland? And now they inspire other entrepreneurs. Yeah, 5 minutes with them can open eyes and minds of other entrepreneurs. And let's imagine what happens once they exit. Yeah, hopefully, sooner or later. They will not only inspire and mentor, but they will be able to invest in the next generation. Right. So I think it's really about breaking barriers, starting from the mind to actually getting support of the others who's been there, who've done that. And that includes also capital. Because I really believe that it's not capital bringing founders, but it's founders bringing capital. So we need entrepreneurs to be brave, scale globally, and pay it forward so that they actually bring other entrepreneurs in and they bring investors in. Yeah? The best capital is the capital of an exited entrepreneur, and that encourages other players, including global investors, to double down on the market.
Thank you very much. Piotr, I wanted to sort of note the fact that of all the different business models, yours seems to be most reliant on kind of deep science, and therefore is kind of most explicitly, in a way, marketing the content of R&D that is, in a way, of Polish origin. Can you just spend a minute sharing with the audience, how you go about marketing it, to what extent, again, it is a strength of your business that you have that sort of Polish content, and to what extent it's you have to overcome some initial skepticism in terms of the credibility that Polish content is actually differentiated and at a premium.
So if you think about what it takes to solve a problem, of course the environment matters, but really honestly it's mostly in our heads. I mean, if you go into a laboratory in Warsaw or go into a laboratory in Boston, they really look the same and they operate the same, and there is no difference. It's kind of scary because you can complain and you can also explain the failures or not attacking big problems by being in Poland that is only developing, etc., etc. There's a lot of excuses that you can use, but they're in large part non-existent. And I agree with you that the network and experience is hugely important in encouraging people. But I think that I'm a strong believer that our successes or chances of success are to a large extent scaled by our ambition. So you have to try. That's the first thing. The second, I'm super proud that the technology that we sold to Bio-Rad, a global operator in the medical diagnostic market, has really been created by the team here in Poland, and we really started by selecting 5 people and making a short 2-day kind of start of camp where we just told them what we want to build. We don't know how to do it, and they took off. And in 3 weeks, they had an idea that eventually ended up in the technology. It's completely grassroots, kind of brave, without hesitation, but also with no warranty that we can do it. So I'm strongly believing that there is no difference really in terms of the capacity to come up with a technology. Obviously, networking, having access, being stimulated by academic thought and results and the environment is very important. So you have to stay in close contact with the kind of global centers of thought thinking.
So again, the network effect is really key, and making sure that you're not locked in by the iron curtain of a mindset.
But when you say key, I'm thinking that this is the sole kind of key element. It's one of key elements. A lot you can do simply by thinking about the global. A lot can be inferred just from publicly available data and thinking and coming up with solutions.
Great. Maya, you mentioned that you started with Polish clients and you kind of escaped into the global market very quickly in terms of ability to scale. Can you just talk a little bit about this transition? Because it was interesting that Stefan described his journey as, kind of starting in the States, then coming to Poland to, in a way, incubate. You went the other way around. It'd be interesting to understand sort of, to what extent the unique system in terms of the unique ecosystem of clients that you had in Poland helped you avoid this issue of getting, in a way, trapped in in subscaleness of the market size?
Escape, trapped. I wouldn't use these words. We have amazing companies out of Poland doing global business. We also serve them. So actually we grew together with our customers, and I think it's very exciting because we started selling to Polish enterprise businesses, mostly in the e-commerce, B2C space, and they also went global. So take InPost as an example. We started with them then when they were a Polish company. Now they operate across the entire Europe. And we learn those markets together with them, and this is super exciting. So I wouldn't say we escaped the Polish market. We are still very much active in the Polish and European market, and we are extremely happy to support our Polish-born customers. And there is those customers are not way different than the ones in the US. Of course, there is a culture difference, yes, but business is business, and we have the same goals. Everybody wants to make money. It's quite simple. So, really, I think we overcomplicate stuff here in Poland, and we overthink, and that's the trap, actually. So just do it. I think that's my advice to every founder. Don't think too much about it. Just do it. It's really not that hard.
So from a Google seminar, it's become a Nike ad. Maybe we should spend a minute on the technology side of things. I was quite intrigued to read that you have 70 markets, I think, international markets that you serve with IoT. And can you just describe a little bit the way you went global as a business, the way you stay global, and to what extent is the fact that you have this Polish origin relevant today at all? And to what extent you're just a global company that happens to have roots in Poland?
We are an engineering company, so whatever we do, we follow customers. And lots of our customers are multinational corporations, and they value suppliers that can provide them the same quality, the same standard job all around the world. So this is a natural evolution if you have the service company, engineering company. And yes, the first markets we explored were China and US, thanks to BMW, that is still our main customer. And they simply say, you want to grow, you have to follow us. And we started it in 2015, and that was breakthrough to our mental and organization. And we started looking into the market as truly global. Only a few years later, we realized it's not only about being there, it's much more important to be part of the ecosystem. And that is something that brings company to the higher level of localization. And as we discuss with startups, for instance, we think that the Polish ecosystem is very good because we have efficient R&D and reasonably big market to start the operation. And it's much, much easier and cheaper to mature your products in here before you ramp up in States. So there are obvious advantages of the location that are probably vice versa not working that way. So we have certain approach to utilize this global operation with our capacity and ambition to innovate. It's well separated, as I said earlier, but this expansion towards other markets is extremely natural for us. So on the other hand, we have to be flexible and up to the changes because my personal responsibility is to give job to over 1,000 people, and I cannot be dependent on local fluctuation on demand. So that's another story, of course, to why we are global.
Great, thank you. Natalia, your business is very global and in a way kind of almost defies gravity of any specific jurisdiction. Can you talk a little bit about your setup and also how you ensure good quality of product and service across multiple markets, multiple client segments?
Thanks so much, Matthew. Yes, so we actually have customers operating in more than 70 countries. Our team members are spread across the globe with concentration in the States, in Canada, in Germany, in the UK, in Poland, and a few other places. And we operate in a fully remote model. So we don't have an office. We don't have a physical office. We are incorporated in London. We have subsidiaries in the States, in Poland, and in Germany. For employment purposes as well, and we also use employer of record to hire people that are outside of these jurisdictions. How to ensure quality of product? Well, it's I would say first of all, and this is actually something that Poland is phenomenal in, and that's the quality of engineering talent. We've heard from Google yesterday how they view Polish engineers, 2,000 engineers. Google is here for 20 years. So many others are here. Intel is here in Gdańsk. Many new entrants currently going after Polish engineering talent in Warsaw. From the enterprise software business like Dropbox, Box, Asana, Atlassian is here in Gdańsk as well. So I think the world noticed the quality of Polish engineers and the excellence in engineering. So that was certainly something in our Polish, let's say Polish roots and Polish origin that served us super well. How do you ensure the quality of product? I think you have to follow modern product development practices in a sense that you co-develop with your customers. The product development never ends. Customer discovery never ends. It's not like you ship something and that's it. So we've been in that constant innovative cycle of really looking how we can add more value to our customer base, and that I think is what works best. But you have to have quality of engineering talent to be able to pull it off.
Thank you. I guess one of the themes that has been repeated by a number of you is follow your customers, stay close to your customers, and obviously that goes back into the whole issue of scale and where you have customers. And I guess that brings me to Stefan and Booksy. There are clearly more hairdressers in the US than in any other market just because of the size of the country. Can you talk a little bit about how you thought about market targeting and to what extent it's been a conscious path and to what extent it's somewhat organic, let's call it. And then the other topic I'd like to hear from you on is, you've spent quite a bit of time over the last few years raising capital from different sources. What has been the relevance of being global versus being somewhat global at the earlier part of your journey in terms of being able to attract capital?
I guess what I'm going to say is not going to surprise anyone. When you start up a company and you're just iterating, you're trying to figure out your product market fit, and you just follow the customers. And Konrad, my co-founder, and I, we've always spent a lot of time talking with the customers. And it was a serendipity because our first provider was a barber from Los Angeles, Gina Grogan. And because she was our first client, then we optimized the product, we iterated the product with feedback we got from her and few other barbers that worked with her at the same barber shop. And then it turned out that we had the strongest product market fit in barbering. And it took us years to expand into other verticals, into nails, into hair salons, into brows and lashes and other places. So there is always that aspect that once you find your first client and you get feedback from the client, you improve the product for that client, and then you get better in that particular segment. So you attract more clients, you get even more feedback, and then you get even better and better and better. And to some extent, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, but back then it was serendipity. Now we are more strategic about our choices, and we are very thoughtful on how we are going after different market segments. We are much more thoughtful. Right now we have a strategy. Back then we didn't have any. Like we were just iterating. And that's how most companies do in the early days. When it comes to fundraising, today we live in a totally different world, post-COVID world. But back then when we were fundraising in 2015, 2016, 2017, we made one mistake. We raised our first seed rounds and A series in Europe. And then when we tried to fundraise in the US, we did not succeed with that. And it took me a while to get over it because I was upset when the US investors were rejecting us. We clearly had amazing unit economics, amazing trajectories, and they were passing on us. And somebody who helped me with some of the intros, later on they back-channeled with one of the investors, and what they learned, right now it's quite reasonable, but back then I was way more emotional and upset about the answer. They said, like, he's not from here. It wasn't about where I was from, it was about where I was not from. And they said, like, we are looking at hundreds, if not thousands of amazing companies every single year. And they liked Booksy, they liked our trajectory, they liked our product market fit, they liked our financials. But they said, he's not from here. He has not studied at Stanford or Harvard. He doesn't have any network here. He hasn't worked at Google or Facebook or Uber. So how is he going to recruit an amazing world-class team if he doesn't know anybody here? And it was just a business risk. And that's how they were looking at us. They were looking at our past trajectories, but they had doubts if we would ever be able to build an amazing world-class team. And they were right about that. Because it took us 3 iterations to do that. Like our first team was like whoever we were able to hire here in Poland. Back in 2014, 2015, we had no brand, we had no brand recognition. So we were just going after people that were willing to take a risk and start working for somebody who had a very small business with a lot of risks. Then a few years later, we were able to attract the best talent that was available in Poland. And today, I'm proud to say that we have a world-class team with amazing people from the US and from Europe. And I'm pretty sure that we can grow the company and take it to the next level with that talent. But it was very gradual. And that's probably the biggest gap we have, starting businesses out of Poland. Like somebody who is starting a business from Silicon Valley, who has a lot of connecting tissue over there, or somebody who is even starting a business from London, they just have a much stronger foundation and they can cut corners. And we have to kind of iterate and do it in circles sometimes.
Can I comment on that? I'm just going to say, but it's you who did it because you have grit and resilience. So at the end of the day, this is what really counts, right? Yeah. Your other competitors who maybe went to Stanford, they didn't make it.
I mean, yes, obviously in our situation, if you don't have resilience, then nothing else matters, right? But those other people that succeed, they have both resilience and they have the network. So, I mean, yeah, we just need to close that gap. We just need to, we have a lot of amazing engineering talent here in Poland, but we have very little go-to-market talent. We have not so many people that know how to build and scale global companies out of here, but I'm pretty sure that when we meet 10 years from now, the situation is going to be totally different because all of the people that are sitting here, we are training and educating that talent. We are also bringing talent from Silicon Valley that's helping us to train and educate talent in Poland. And I'm pretty sure that people who graduate from our companies and start up their own businesses, they are going to be way more successful than all of us are here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very interesting point, this idea of, creating an ecosystem by basically having alumni network. And you said, I was not from Google or so on, so I didn't have the credentials day one. In a way, today, someone quitting Booksy, not that I'm encouraging anybody to do that, but they have the credentials to be able to walk into a room and raise money. Maya, since you mentioned very openly that you have kind of A-list investors in your investor group, were you also iterating to get those, or did you manage to have a more kind of early luck with attracting top tier endorsements from the the investors that you have today?
Early luck. No, but it takes a lot of luck to raise capital, especially if you don't have those connections, if you're not alumni of from Stanford or Harvard or something like that. So yeah, it was luck, but it was also kind of different time than when Stefan was raising his first rounds. Investors in Silicon Valley and in the US in general, they kind of figured out already that we have a lot of talent here and potential, and actually better access to the talent pool than even global companies that we are so proud they are opening their offices here. So they know it, and they know that they can have companies, cheaper companies, let's be honest, right? Like our valuations are still kind of lower than our US counterparts. So it just makes sense from the investment perspective. And so that was it. Like it was good timing and luck. And then once you have the first good investor, it helps a lot.
Bartosz, back to you. So what are you doing about it? Because in a way, your setup is intended to lift, the not the bar, but kind of give a leg up by creating this ecosystem. What are the elements that you think are most helpful, and where do you think there's still gaps in what's available to entrepreneurs in Poland who are trying to go global?
Right. I don't think I would reinvent the wheel, because a lot of true has been just said, and I think it took you, Stefan, 10 years to reach a certain level, and it took you, Maya, maybe 2-3 years. Yeah, it took Ivona Software a decade, and 11 Labs 2 years. So it's really about inspire, mentor, and invest in the next generation. And very interesting insight I can share with you. Last year we interviewed 200 global tech unicorn founders, and not only from the US. Yeah, just to be to be real, like from all the markets all around the world. And actually, what's characteristic is their journey is not really about working in Google or graduating, Stanford, Harvard. It is actually most of the global tech unicorn founders spend time with other founders. So they actually learned it on the job from people who have the resilience, the courage, who scale the company. So as a result, actually, employee spin-outs is such an important aspect. And we talked a lot with Stefan, because you, Stefan, you raised a dozen of founders. Companies like HiPad, Smart School the founders are your former employees. And you said that within a few years, you'd like to see at least 50 companies created by former Booksy employees, and you are sure they will make it much faster, and they will have your support. So I think it's back to really inspire, mentor, and invest in the next generation, and showing that path by being a successful founder. So it starts with the resilience, it starts with the courage, breaking the barriers. Once you succeed, the other founders out of Poland will have it much, much easier.
Natalia, you mentioned in the introduction that your business was bootstrapped, as you called it. Was that a conscious choice, or was that to some extent, not being able to break some of these early barriers that other people somehow were also struggling to break with more or less success?
So it actually dates to super early days where when our founder Greg, who built the product, just made that first conscious choice to continue on that path after pre-seed investment that he has taken from London. I joined him a little bit later on the journey, and then we continued. We were actually profitable, and we were able to grow thanks to revenue from customers. So it's sort of like we were on that path for some time. We then decided to sort of go to the dark side, raise capital, and scale. But actually, interestingly, we were already global, and we were already also in the US. So I know that many European founders raise capital to go to the US, and to be able to afford that, we've proven that it actually works for us already. And I think that currently just having a bootstrap profitable growth in our roots plus scale that venture capital allows, to me, it's sort of like the healthiest mix of building a company right now. I think there were just generally the world was through some crazy times in 2021, partly 2020, 2021, partly 2022. With too much capital and too much sort of like hyper growth at all costs, which wasn't great. So I'm very grateful for that experience and sort of being able to draw from that. I don't think that I personally have not experienced barriers for raising because to me. We were eventually we raised from London, but we had a very good traction, proven product, strong team, and I think that certainly helped. But I do believe that at the time that you, Stefan, were raising in the States, there might have been still some sort of a bias against European founders. And especially founders from here, but I think that's completely not the case. Only barriers that there would be right now, I think it's in people's heads, that people that are growing businesses in their heads. I don't think that there are any further sort of negative bias to this region, which is fantastic to see. And the better we all do, the more we'll inspire, I think, the next generation of entrepreneurs, and also lots of investment coming here.
Yesterday there was a sort of a whole presentation dedicated to the Warsaw Stock Exchange. Can you just comment briefly on your perspective on feasibility of using the Warsaw Stock Exchange as a source of capital for your businesses? I mean, I think, Piotr, you have probably the most experience, but I'd be curious to hear from a few others.
Yeah. So we're on Warsaw Stock Exchange for, I don't know, 6 years now. No, even more. Starting with NewConnect, and since last year on the main floor, we raised 3 times already, being at the Warsaw Stock Exchange, being public. Building kind of technological ventures is very long-term endeavor. We cannot report quarterly revenue and profits, so it requires a lot of kind of trust and long-term thinking also from the investors. We're very grateful. We have a very solid, I think, base of people that that believe in our organization. It is a way. Whether it's the best way, it's not traditional way for sure. Traditional way is to use VC and do it privately, but it's feasible. And it's growing. I think that all of the components of the market have to grow together. You talked about the founders breaking barriers, and then it's easier for the new wave. I think the next 10 years will be amazing in that respect, that we have a wave of highly trained and brave people coming into the market. But also on the investor side, investors have obviously an appetite for the 10x, 100x gains, but they also have the fear. And if you don't have the network here of providing the understanding and the comfort of knowing what is actually worth investing, it also kind of lowers the appetite. So this is also growing, I think, here.
Stefan, did you ever consider IPOing on the Warsaw Stock Exchange?
I think it's too early for us to make any decisions about that. We recently hired a New York-based CFO that took Etsy public, and she has experience with public markets and private companies. So our ambition is to build the biggest company that's ever been born in Poland, but I think we'll be going public in the US. However, dual listing is an option I'm considering. I'm a big believer in building the ecosystem that tide raises all the boats, and I think I want to give back to the community. So if I hear that dual listing would be actually beneficial, not for the company, but for the ecosystem, I'm happy to do that.
What a great way to wrap up. Thank you very much, all.
Thank you so much. That was really Stefan Batory, like a king of Poland. Let's go to the last panel right now, I think. Yes, because it's the last panel, and then we'll give you more time for networking after we close. So the moderator, chairwoman of BNP Paribas, Lucyna Stańczak, Piotr Krupa, CEO of Kruk, welcome. Adam Marciniak. Nie robimy. We're not, well. Okay, so 15 minutes break. If this is what the audience wants, there is a pressure. Sorry for that. 15 minutes break.